Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. The invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by Commissioner Cody.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather today. May everything we do begin with your inspiration and continue with your help. We ask for your guidance this morning, that all our thoughts and actions would reflect your holy will, and that you would grant us the grace to love you and our neighbors more perfectly. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the July 16th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of bills, Mr. Postal.
Let's start with accounts payable, total $760,069.30. Payroll is $420,681.53. 911, $2,971.56. CDBG account for $17,960.22. One check in the LEPC account for $93.19. One EFT in the Liquid Fuels Act 89 account for $59.52. And finally, there was one payment through the local use account for a PIB loan, totals $195,421.40. I'll make a motion to pay these bills.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Treasurer's report, Deb.
We have a beginning balance of $991,743.59. We had deposits of $4,556,212.17. We voided a check for $19.64. We transferred money from the general account to the CARES account for $4,166,670. And we agree with the reading of the bills by Commissioner Postal, leaving us an ending balance of $200,554.57. Our liquid fuels account has $445,629.28 in it. Our Act 89 has $344,182.46. Our 911 has $233,702.92. Excuse me. Our LAPC has $39,733.77. Our local use tax has $339,703.91. Our McCares account has $4,166,670 in it, and our capital reserve has $13,716,554.37, and it's all subject to audit.
Okay, anybody have any questions, Treasurer? Motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting events, Mr. Postal.
The various meetings, both inside and outside the county. A lot of these have to do with the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, and a lot of information coming from the statewide initiatives that are going on with the CARES Act. We'll be talking a little bit about that in, later on the agenda. I'll just pass this list over to the Chief Clerk to make part of the minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Cody.
All right, we met with the county auditors. They're wrapping up their work for the year. At Juliana River Valley Visitors Bureau Board, we had several meetings about COVID-19, and also had a meeting regarding the CARES Fund, which will be talked about here later. Also, the Area Agency on Aging 4-year plan review.
Okay. I had numerous internal meetings and things like that, and I'll give the list to the Chief Clerk after the meeting. Public comment. New business, Municipal Authority of the Borough of Lewistown, you're up.
All right, thank you. Good morning, I'm here with Craig Bob, the Executive Director of the Municipal Authority. As you know, the authority and the Borough of Lewistown have been involved in some litigation and some conflict since the end of 2019. Without getting into the nuts and bolts of that, we're looking at a means to resolve the litigation which would protect the autonomy of a municipal authority. Part of the litigation is over some resolutions of the Borough Council which we feel are unlawful under the Municipal Authorities Act. On the other hand, the borough was looking for a cash flow from the authority, which we objected to the manner in which it was proposed. The borough is our creating municipality. They appoint our members, but since the end of World War II, the municipal authority has operated independently, autonomously, for the betterment of all of its ratepayers and customers for those 75 years. But in trying to come to a resolution, discussions back and forth, the most recent letter from counsel for the borough raised the possibility or the issue of hearing more about the concept of a regional authority. We've talked about that from our side, and my purpose in being here today is to propose to you gentlemen this concept of a county-wide authority because we think that would be in the best interest of everyone. 68% of our ratepayers reside outside of the borough of Lewistown. Those 68% of those customers use 81% of the water that we produce. So in these 75 years, the municipal authority has expanded from the startup authority that acquired the old privately held Lewistown Reedsville Water Company to bring more water into the borough. We now serve Armagh, Brown, Union, Burnham Borough, Derry Township, Granville Township, Juniata Terrace. So in addition to the borough, there's those 7 other municipalities that our board feels very strongly they need to protect. And this we think is a lawful and a reasonable resolution of the current controversy. First of all, the county authority, if it would be created by the county, would appoint the members and could appoint members from all of the area of the county so that people who currently don't have a seat at the table will have a seat at the table. We're not asking for any financial contribution. The authority has never received any financial contribution. They've always done it through bond issues backed by its water service, by selling water. So it wouldn't require any taxing authority. In fact, when we issue bonds now, those bonds specifically say the borough of Lewistown, the county of Mifflin, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, none of that taxing authority stands behind those bonds. Those bonds exist based on our ability to send our customers a bill for the water that they use. So the county-wide authority that we would be proposing would require the new authority to acquire the assets of the municipal authority, pay off our existing indebtedness, and then because Lewistown was the creating authority, we feel that's a lawful way to pay the borough of Lewistown for that over a period of time up front, however that would be worked out, but it would be along the lines of what they're interested in doing. What we can't do, in our opinion, is where the borough has gone to this point, it is what we call a lease back, where we take our assets, just transfer them back to the borough, and then immediately start to pay them a rental value for that. We object to that because we don't think it's lawful under the Act, first of all. And secondly, those 68% of our customers out there who don't live in the borough of Lewistown don't receive any benefit. So as I said, there's no financial commitment that's being requested from the county, no taxing issues at all. And according to our bond counsel and our brokers, who I think you gentlemen are familiar with from your own financial situations, we think that can be structured and not even look at it requiring a rate increase to those ratepayers. It would resolve this issue of unbalanced representation now, because there's some people who just don't have a seat at the table. And I think it gets rid of this litigation, the conflict between the authority and the borough, which is expensive. We're spending money on lawyers. So the authority would maintain its operations, and I think the spirit of inter-county cooperation or municipal cooperation between all the municipalities that we serve would be benefit. It's a win. We feel it's a win-win for everybody. And it would also create the possibility, we think, of maybe being able to more easily assist some of our smaller outlying water systems that aren't really hooked up onto the distribution system, but yet have issues with their regulators, and we have some cooperative agreements with them. If for instance, if in Allensville happens, they have to shut down, we can get them water. So we have some of these smaller systems that a countywide authority, I think, could respond to in a meaningful and beneficial way. We think this is a lawful way to do it, and just as importantly, the Pennsylvania Municipality Authorities Association thinks it is. They are a party to our lawsuit because they feel the action of the borough, while it affects us directly, also impacts upon every municipal authority in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So they're not going away. If the borough controls our board or whatever, the litigation isn't going to stop simply because of the political direction. The Pennsylvania Municipality Authorities wants this question resolved. So they are on board with this idea of a regional countywide authority. So we're here today to ask you gentlemen to consider that so that we can try and move forward with those negotiations. And if you're on board with it, we certainly feel other municipalities who have contacted us while this litigation has been going on, they are in favor of it. And then we'll try and wrap things up with the borough. So that's our presentation. If you have questions, try and answer.
Well, this is a situation crying for a resolution, and I, for one, I don't want to see what some areas have done, selling authorities to a private company where the customers end up paying 2 or 3 times the amount that they're paying before. I think there's no reason why we can't all come together as a county and figure this out. And I don't want to see lawyers making a lot of money, on us, and when the situation keeps on going, they'll keep going.
I just work part-time.
I'm still working.
Anyway,
So I agree with Mr. Kodesh what you're saying, because that would be privatization is an issue that's, front and center across the Commonwealth and across the country, and that would be a disaster for local people. Not only, I think history would show that the rates would start to go up and up and up. You have no local control, nobody to answer to. Nobody can come to a meeting like this and complain to the local people who are responsible for making those decisions. They're worried about their shareholders and a board of directors in Houston, Texas, or somewhere else. So I agree with you on that point.
Go ahead.
I'm not prepared to make a motion to form the authority at this time without having our staff look at that. Obviously, no reflection on the authority that's here today, but just one side. So we need to look at the total operations of this and how this will affect it. I do appreciate the comment that there are smaller agencies and smaller authorities, like Allensville, for example, that could benefit from this. So that's something that I really didn't think about, so I'm glad you brought that up.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that the county participate in a feasibility study to examine the situation and the possibility of creating a county water authority system, and that we would assign a couple members of our staff to participate in that study.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next to item B, amending the action taken on May 21st, 2020 to exonerate Arma Township tax collector Linda Marks from collecting 2020 per capita tax bills as presented 14, corrected total was 13, is the motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a request for exoneration of 2018 supplemental county real estate tax bill and relieve the tax collector from collecting this bill. It's a parcel located in Bratton Township. The building was constructed in 2019. It's $56.54.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Domestic Relations, Title 4D, Cooperative Agreement for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Are you okay if I take my notes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just asking for approval of that. It expires at the end of October. And that agreement basically covers, the purpose of the agreement is to maintain and improve the effectiveness of the Title 4D Child Support Enforcement Program.
So is this typically a 5-year agreement?
Yes, it's always a 5-year agreement. So this will be good until September 30th of 2025.
Maintain that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mifflin County Domestic Relations Constable Agreement for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025.
So that's the same thing, it's the constable contracts, and they're expiring at the end of September also.
I did notice that this, and together with the next one on the agenda, is coterminous with the last motion that we made. Is that why?
Yes,
They're both.
yes, they all
Everything
come
is
to at the
5
end
years.
of, yes.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Intergovernmental agreement between Mifflin County Domestic Relations and Mifflin County Sheriff to provide security for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Intergovernmental agreement between Mifflin County Domestic Relations and Mifflin County Sheriff for warrant service for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Intergovernmental agreement between Mifflin County Domestic Relations and Mifflin County District Attorney to provide legal services for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
See you in 5 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we have offers for parcels located in the Lewistown Borough that are currently in repositories for unsold property. We have 4 of them, and the offers are $1 per property. Is there a motion to accept or reject?
Motion to reject.
I'm going to second that motion to reject.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
What I'd like to do, though, Mr. Chairman, is just explain that a bit. We certainly would offer meetings with the bidders on these repositories, not only this particular bidder, but all bidders, to talk to the commissioners about their intent on redeveloping these properties. In the past, repository properties were sold for minimum amounts. Sometimes they were developed, sometimes they weren't. I think that our interest, together with our blight remediation program, our interest is to see these properties redeveloped and brought up to code. And we offer meetings with any bidder, and particularly this bidder, to tell us what their intent is and enter into an agreement with the town, with the county. So that's the reason that I think that we rejected these bids. Plus, they're very minimal, and I think we ought to be looking at minimum bids in the future.
Okay, you have any? Okay, we have an offer for parcel, 3 of them, located in Lewistown Borough that are currently in repository for unsold property. That offer is $1,000. Is there a motion to accept or reject?
I make a motion to reject that, the same reasoning that we rejected the others.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I think one thing you ought to say, what you ought to say is that folks that are going to do this, if you're going to bid on properties out of the repository, need to come to us with some kind of written developer agreement or a plan, a formal written plan. And that's really what's going on here. It's not that we're upset that these bids are low. I understand there's very little value maybe in some of these places. The real issue is, what are you willing to commit to in writing in the future that we can hold you to, so that we don't give you a property for a buck and it just stays there and never gets approved and never gets raised, which it probably needs. So we're, as Commissioner Postal says, the commissioners are certainly supportive of blight remediation, particularly in the borough, and that goes along with the borough's plans. So it's not; these are not rejected, without a lot of thought. But what we need, what the commissioners want to see, is some kind of written development plan that these people, bidders are willing to commit to, and hopefully they'll do that.
That's exactly right. As Commissioner Postal said, this all goes hand in hand with our blight remediation. We want to see these borough properties improved, developed. Borough Lewistown, the Keystone Community. I see Director Jim Zubler from DLI is here today. We want to see plans from bidders that are going to make these properties better. We don't want to give the properties away for a low amount, then have them just sit there for a couple of years, or have them throw renters in and have them further decay. So we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction positively for our buildings in the area.
Okay. Mark Fluzzi, you're up for formation of an ad hoc review committee.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
So this actually builds off of information that was presented at a previous board meeting discussing the CARES Act funded county relief block grant program. The county relief block grant program was submitted to DCED, our grant application, on June the 16th. Since then, we have received our contract, and the funds have been deposited into a county account. So that is gearing up to move forward. As mentioned before, but again to elaborate, this particular county relief block grant program does have an opportunity to help a lot of the different entities, organizations, individuals in the county that have been negatively impacted by the pandemic. In particular, we're looking at helping municipalities, broadband providers, nonprofit agencies, and small businesses, all with their own unique individual needs as to why they need relief. So we have been in the process for the past 2 months in developing programs that can provide relief grants to these particular agencies. We have formed a group that includes Mifflin County Industrial Development Corporation, the Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Lewistown Incorporated, as well as the County Planning Department, all with oversight by the county commissioners, to look at how we can best help these different individuals and agencies. With that said, We have a lot of different things we're planning on presenting and releasing, specifically the date on which different individuals can apply to the county. We have a targeted date potentially by the end of August. However, we still are waiting on further guidance on a particular minutia from DCED. There are certain things that has not been released to date, but certainly we need to have information on before we release those funds, because ultimately not only do we want to help these individuals, we want to make sure we do it legally, lawfully, and respectfully of all requirements to be had. So with that said, we actually are dividing potentially the two different groups of applicants, which would include municipalities and broadband agencies that potentially, if any questions would come, can contact the Planning and Development Department directly, or in the future, nonprofit agencies and businesses that contact Mifflin County Industrial Development Corporation. We are working on a web page that will be able to divide each one of these grant opportunities into those 4 key categories and provide a lot of detailed information in the future. We're really excited to be able to release that in the future, so we will be providing information on that web page that's being completed at this moment. Now, with that all said, once we look at reviewing potentially applications that would come in at a future date, we're looking at the help of our different agencies and the individual volunteers that are part of each one of the respective boards that I've mentioned. So presenting the specific actionable item for your consideration this morning, we're looking at asking for the formation of an ad hoc review committee that would consist of multiple members of these agencies. Those members would include the following: John Kurko from MCIDC, Daniel Warfel from MCIDC, James Spenda from the Mifflin County Planning Commission, Neil Shaver from the Mifflin County Planning Commission, Terry Foster from the Chamber Board of Directors, and Mike Buffington from the Chamber Board of Directors. So I'd ask you for consideration of that this morning, and with anything else I said, I'd be more than happy to elaborate on it.
So this committee would actually review the applications. They wouldn't be making the decision relating to who gets the distribution. They would be reviewing all the applications that are submitted.
That's correct. I mean, the purpose is not only do we want to help these agencies and individuals, but we want to, again, make sure we meet all the grant requirements and the requirements not only of the state legislature, but the federal government through the CARES Act are requiring. So we developed potentially like a 3-phase review of the process. Once the applications are submitted to each one of our respective agencies, again, it'd be municipal or broadband, it'd be to the county planning department, or it would be nonprofit or business to MCIDC. That our staffing of each one of our agencies would be able to review those for the technical requirements. And then would go then on to the ad hoc review committee to look at the reasonableness of the need to look at which agencies potentially would fit the program the best, and then it would then be forwarded as potentially a recommendation consideration by the Board of Commissioners. So ultimately, any distribution of those funds would be ultimately approved by the Board of Commissioners.
And we're very anxious to get these funds on the street, and the staff and partners have done a great job getting us to this point. We're waiting for guidance from DCED, because apparently there's some different interpretations of what is allowable and what isn't, and later on in a couple of months it's going to have to be audited. So we need to make sure that we're doing this correctly, and I would hope that we could begin getting applications in mid-August. Would that be something that we could do?
Certainly, we expect to maybe hear on several of the questions we have at DCD, as well as a lot of questions that other counties have for DCD very, very soon, maybe even as early as next week. So we're trying to get this out as soon as possible, so certainly that's a target we'd like to look at. I would agree with you there.
All right, I have a statement I'd like to read on our behalf first before we make the motion to the community. In light of recent events, the federal government has allocated sizable resources to help communities cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. These dollars were made available as a result of the CARES Act and then passed through to the states. Pennsylvania has determined an allocation schedule for rural counties, asking a portion of these funds, $4.1 million, directly to Mifflin County. Our board has consulted with many stakeholders in order to determine where these funds can have the greatest impact. We have determined the following 4 areas while adhering to the funding stipulations can provide the most help to our communities: broadband deployment, local government assistance, small business and nonprofit relief grants, and certain improvements to the county's operations and assets as related to the COVID pandemic. The relief grant program is meant to help business owners and operators, nonprofit and local government managers access funds to help them offset the loss of revenue and increased expenses brought about as a consequence of containing the pandemic. Stay-at-home orders, as promulgated by the governor's office, have negatively affected most facets of our economy. Our restaurant and tourism industry has suffered greatly, seeing an abrupt stop of customer revenues while needing to invest considerable money into personal protective equipment, plexiglass partitions, and a major reduction of indoor serving capacity. We understand that $4.1 million will not completely alleviate the losses our communities have endured. It is our hope these dollars will be a shot in the arm, filling in holes that might be left from businesses and organizations who are able to qualify for U.S. Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL program, or Pennsylvania's Certified Development Finance Institutions, or CDFI grant program. Those businesses and organizations who are not able to qualify are of particular interest to us and will receive priority consideration. If you own or manage a small business, nonprofit, or local government located in Mifflin County, we would encourage you to monitor updates that matches your type of organization and learn how to qualify for grant funds to help out during these trying times. Thank you.
I'll point out, in order to be totally transparent on this, the treasurer is reporting on this account as she had done this morning. So we'll be looking at this in the months ahead. And all of that money, our understanding, and this is one of the questions, needs to be distributed by December 30th, December 31st, 2020. So this is a short time frame. We don't have a lot of time. But again, your staff and your partners have done a great job getting us to this point. We just hope to start to get applications in a few weeks and get this money out very, very quickly. That's what it's there for. I guess we need a motion to appoint the ad hoc county relief block grant committee. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Professional services agreement with CDF Council of Governments, CDCOG, related to the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Program.
So just, again, building off of the program that we just discussed, there's going to be certain reporting requirements that DCDs are going to require on the expenditure of the funds. The ultimate goal here is not only to help the agencies and groups, businesses, et cetera, that need the funds the most, but make sure we do it, in a lawful way that's within the guidance of not only the federal government but the state government. So there's going to be certain reporting stipulations, and then ultimately an audit requirement at the terminus of the grant program. So CDCOG has reached out to multiple of the counties in the Southern Allegheny region, in the CDCOG region. However, the county commissioners have done a great job coordinating with them from day one, potentially see what efforts they can do to help us. This is not their first rodeo working on helping out counties on working with federal funds. So with that said, they have presented an opportunity to help us with some of the administration, reporting requirements, helping with audit preparation, et cetera. So they've presented an agreement for the commissioner's consideration to help with some of those administration tasks. So what is before you for consideration this morning is the execution of that agreement with CDCOG that would primarily utilize the administrative funds set aside from the CARES Act, or excuse me, from the County Relief Block Grant Fund, and not to expend funds out of the general fund.
And that's an important point. I'm glad you brought that up. These are funds that are allowed under the Act, and these are not coming from the general fund. It would be unfair, really, to put all this administrative burden, since it happened very quickly, and as we said, the money has to be distributed very quickly on our staff. We need assistance. There are agencies like CEDACOG and MCIDC and others that are available, and we should be using their expertise, and that's what this is. But again, this is not through general funds. This is allowed as an administrative cost with the funds that we already have. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with CEDACOG relating to the administration and development of projects under the CARES Act.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And Chairman, if you would mind, just to conclude, I'd just like to congratulate and thank the Board of Commissioners for your work on this. Mifflin County certainly has been at the lead of this particular county relief block grant program. We've been moving forward much faster than the other counties that were receiving these funds. You've been at the forefront of reaching out to see how we can best get the funds in the hands of the people that need it the most. And, I think you all need to be commended for your efforts to date. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a grant agreement for the competitive VOCA grant program between Mifflin County Crime Victims and Wellspring Counseling for the period June 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, in the amount of $6,720.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a 3-year electrical inspector agreement with AAA Electrical Inspection Service for the County Housing Rehabilitation Program funded by Home CDBG or Act 137. You're going to enlighten us a little here, Mr. Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, we have completed 2 different RFQs, request for qualifications for a new electrical inspector over the past numerous months. We have had no replies to those RFQs for electrical inspectors, and we have talked to numerous individual firms regarding the chance to take this on. We had no response from anybody. And finally, in a discussion with an actual electrical inspector, we have a gentleman, Harold Aiken, who is going to, or wants to do this for us. Basically what this firm would be doing is electrical inspection, a write-up, and then final inspection and service inspections as needed for our housing rehab program. Our program averages anywhere from 1 to maybe 5 or so houses per year, depending upon funding. So it's an as-needed basis. This is a new firm, and basically he has provided us with costs which are, I believe, included in your packet. $700 as a retainer, $100 for the initial survey, initial $100 for the survey report, which will be the write-up, $100 fee for the final inspection and approval report, a $50 fee for reinspection of a failed final inspection, and $75 fee for an electrical service upgrade inspection. So we believe that this will be a beneficial asset to our program now. We've been struggling with timing over the past several years with our previous electrical inspector, and we believe that this will make our process a lot better and be able to assess the homeowners that we assist with our funds. So I'm asking for your approval on this.
Okay. Is there a motion approved?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We have a commitment of $15,000 from the Act 152 account for a project in Lewistown Bar. Mr. Zuber, you're going to talk about that?
I will.
Pertaining to blight remediation, and also consistent with what prior commissioners' actions have supported, we have a unique opportunity to apply for some dollars from Department of Community and Economic Development for a severely deteriorated building in the borough. The amount would be for $300,000, and it requires a 10% match. This building is situate at the corner of East 3rd and Valley Street. The borough is very interested in addressing this particular blighted property. And this particular grant program only became available on June 1st. This has never been available before. So we're basically, applying for these dollars. Hopefully we will be in receipt of them. But again, it does require a 10% match. The borough is on board with a $15,000 commitment at least, and that is consistent. And the request is for commissioners to match that particular amount. 15, you would also put in 15. That would give us $30,000, which would address the 10% match commitment, which is required for this particular grant application.
Okay. Any questions?
When do you expect to, I know tomorrow you're going to submit the grant,
That is correct.
and when do you expect any kind of response?
Hopefully we'll have something by October. That's a typical window, when we've applied for other grants and placed applications to DCD. We usually have about a 3-month or 3.5, 4-month turnaround.
Well, thanks for turning this around so quickly with the borough. As Mr. Zucker said, just started on June 1st, and they closed the applications July 31st. So unless you had a project that was really on the shelf or ready to go, you're not going to get an opportunity to submit this. So I'm glad you worked toward it. Make a motion to make the commitment from the Act 152 account for $15,000 to match Lewistown Borough's commitment.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We have an engagement letter with Zellenkowski, Actuary LLC, Harrisburg, PA, for the 2019 county audit. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under personnel items, we have the hiring of Paula Hoffman for part-time planning clerk, effective August 3rd, 2020. Appointment of Tyler Stein as an unpaid sheriff intern, effective July 27th, 2020. Promotion of Barbara Rice from Children and Youth Caseworker 1 to Caseworker 2, effective August 3rd, 2020. Rescind the hiring of Carly Borman for part-time corrections officer. The hiring of Brianna Metz and Franklin Stevens for part-time correction officer, effective August 3rd, 2020. And the hiring of Melissa Wilson for part-time LPN, effective August 17th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. No further business. We stand adjourned.